Could you share one moment from your journey where, despite solid sales plans and top sales performers, revenue predictability was shaken? And what did that, teach you about building resilient systems?
So I don't have any lurkers, nor do I stay on a golf course. I stay away from those places, so there's no lurking around. Vegetation and I don't go well together, Dean. But when we talk about a unique moment in the past life, right, best sales to performing, I just go back to the economic cycles that you referred to earlier, right, Vish? And economic cycles. Look, we have tariffs. We have a lot of things going on globally, right? So that's impacting a lot of faith, a lot of things that people are doing. For me, if I go back and I think about the right mental models in the context, revenue predictability is usually shaken in that scenario. For me, the biggest situation that I ever saw in my career was that where a company's revenue is actually growing like crazy. And then when you dig in, you actually realize they have a lot of bad habits, right? Because they're getting exceptional performance. The test always is what happens when things fall down. So the stress test that we did with them was, and we actually came to a very simple realization. When you are high, rising water raises everyone. You need to start looking at those mental models and the way that you operate, that if the rising tide were to fall, would you survive or would you end up on the rocks? And that analysis actually made us realize a couple of things. That one, revenue will collapse not because you don't have the right talent, it's because the talent is doing its own thing. When you have rising water, mistakes are forgiven, right? Because you're making a number. And a mental model actually forces you to look very closely at discipline and behavior, even when water is rising, especially when water is rising. Because when water recedes, you will have a sudden collapse. And you need to focus on how to prevent that sudden collapse. Look, talent is always there. It's how people apply their talent. That's where I think mental models can help us a lot. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation to get a bit deeper into that. At the end of the day, it's about teachability, standardization, and systems, right? When you have these models and these in place, rising tide teaches you how to handle when the tide goes down. And that's when the collapse occurs. And I think this is the biggest learning that I would share with everyone where I've seen it and lived it in practice.